Welcome back to This Week in Tyranny, where America continues its free fall into authoritarian clown hell, and somehow the clowns keep getting scarier. Oof. Let's begin in North Carolina, where ICE has apparently decided to start auditioning for the purge. According to local reporting, ICE agents carried out multiple nighttime home raids without identifying themselves, without warrants, and in full tactical gear, terrifying entire neighborhoods. Families hid in closets, children were screaming, and at least one person was hospitalized. Local sheriffs said they had no idea ICE was even operating there. Because when you're running a rogue paramilitary squad for the White House, why bother with jurisdiction? Of course, the irony is that these actions are now threatening to turn a purple state solidly blue. From there, we go international, or, well, Trump did, because nothing screams strong leadership like the President of the United States publicly praising Mohammed bin Salman, the Saudi crown prince who ordered the murder and dismemberment of Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Trump dismissed the assassination again, calling MBS, quote, a friend and a stabilizing force. You know, the kind of stabilizing force who dissolves reporters in acid and then lies about it on live TV. This man is openly siding with a foreign dictator who butchered an American resident because he didn't like his columns. And Republicans? Silent. Again. But don't worry, accountability still exists somewhere. Lindsay Halligan, Trump's Mar-a-Lago poolside lawyer, just got absolutely body slammed by a federal judge in the farcical Comey case. In a brutal ruling, the court said her filings were, quote, legally frivolous, unsupported by fact, and so sloppy they appeared to be drafted in haste. Translation: even in the Trump era of legal circus acts, Halligan's work stood out as a uniquely embarrassing balloon animal performance. The judge ordered sanctions and basically suggested she take up another profession, preferably far from a courtroom. Meanwhile, the EPA, now staffed by people who think recycling is communism, gutted key Endangered Species Act protections. The new rule lets developers and extractive industries ignore scientific warnings and bulldoze habitats if they think a, quote, species will probably be fine. Probably. They weakened climate analysis, erased safeguards for threatened species, and gave companies more freedom to kill wildlife as long as they don't do it too much. Extinction, but make it vibes-based. And if you thought the military was your last line of defense, oh honey, the U.S. Coast Guard was caught circulating a draft policy reframing swastikas, nooses, and other hate symbols not as hate incidents, but as, wait for it, quote, potentially divisive. Potentially divisive. Like a swastika is the same as arguing about pineapple on pizza. Ugh. The backlash was instant. Senators demanded answers, the memo leaked, and the Coast Guard scrambled to reverse course, insisting swastikas are in fact bad. The fact that this is even a required clarification says everything about the new military culture under Trump and Hegseth. White supremacist iconography isn't being purged, it's being accommodated. And meanwhile, Trump spent the week proving that loyalty to him, not the Constitution, not democracy, not even basic human dignity, is the only currency he understands. And in a plot twist straight out of a late-night writer's room, he managed to set his own movement on fire again. After spending weeks publicly humiliating Marjorie Taylor Greene, calling her a loser and accusing her of going radical left, she threw up her hands and announced she's resigning. Not next term. In January, which suddenly puts her district in play and moves up the timeline for Democrats flipping the House by years. Then, and this is where it gets delicious, in the very same news cycle, Trump melted into a sycophantic puddle the second New York mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, yes, the Democratic Socialist Republicans have been screaming about like he's the boogeyman under the capitalism's bed, said one nice thing about him, one compliment, one, and Trump folded like a lawn chair in a hurricane. All it took was a little flattery and he abandoned the GOP's entire dangerous radical socialist midterm messaging faster than he abandoned his own lawyers. He spent months calling socialists the downfall of America, and then a socialist pats him on the head and suddenly he's purring like a Roomba that found a plug. The man has the ideological spine of wet Kleenex. So to recap, ICE is terrorizing neighborhoods like an unregulated militia. Trump is openly praising the man who murdered a U.S. journalist. His lawyers are getting sanctioned into oblivion. The EPA is cutting deals with extinction. The Coast Guard flirted with swastikas are fine, trademark, before pretending it didn't. And the president implodes his own coalition while being outmaneuvered by his former attack dog and a guy he once called a jihadist. This isn't politics. It's authoritarian Tamagotchi. Feed it denial, give it silence, and boom, you've raised yourself a full-grown dictator.